Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the UFO Secret Space program on Aquarian Radio. And I'm your host, Janet Kira Lessin, with my co-host. What's my co-host today? Sean Fowler. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name. Sean is a new co-host with me, and today we're going to talk about the links between child trafficking, sex slaves, MkUltra, Milabs, the Illuminati, and the Secret Space program. And I wrote up this little bit here, and I'm going to have Sean come on here in just a moment and add to it. How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? So on this show, we're going to cover the link between child trafficking, sex slaves, MkUltra, Milabs, the Illuminati, and the Secret Space program. And Jeffrey Epstein's murder, suicide, you pick, it's your choice, indicates that sex, child trafficking, human slave trade goes deeper down the rabbit hole and all the way back up to the highest levels of planetary government on the top of the pyramid, as conspiracy theorists have been telling us all along. We have these brave whistleblowers all through time, such as David Icke, Arizona Wilder, Cathy O'Brien, Stewart Swerdlow, Peter Moon, Miesha Johnston, and countless others who have come forth over the years, revealing the details behind the Illuminati, the power elite, and the covert military and government programs designed to fracture us into altars individually and divide us as a nation into fractions, which are then more easily subdued and conquered and controlled and manipulated. And the end results are revealed in our current political situations as we head into 2020 and the presidential elections. And will the elections happen, or will we be propelled into martial law, or a coup of our nation, or World War III? We don't know what's going to happen. And now that Epstein suicide was murdered, will the truth of the top politicians and rulers of our planet's involvement in the sex trafficking and sex slave agenda finally be revealed, or will the facts of this horrendous planetary corruption be buried deeper and deeper, and die with Epstein? Or did he really die? So today emerged conspiracy sources revealed that Epstein's death may have been faked, and he's put into an identity protection program. But I'm wondering, who would do that? And who would benefit more by his fake death than his actual death? And how in the world, or other worlds, does this tie into the Secret Space program? So I'm sure we're not going to be able to cover all this in one show. It's going to be a series of shows. And we have our co-host, and Sean is joining me in a series of shows, Sean Fowler. And I'm going to first introduce you to Sean. So, Sean Fowler, are you there? Is that you,
That's
Sean?
Correct.
Oh, good. We are going live here. And so, Sean, you requested that we do this show, and I've been tracking it because it's just fascinating what's going on. And
Absolutely.
I've been studying this all my life, and I am 65 years old. So this stuff goes back to child trafficking in my Leave It to Beaver neighborhood, which everybody thought was so pure. It was a, Leave It to Beaver, Nelson type of neighborhood, and it really wasn't, because underneath it, all this dark stuff, including like the porn industry photographing these children doing things with each other, was going on, and a lot of those characters died before the truth came out. But I don't want to take the whole time talking. I'm going to pass this to Sean, but Sean, speak in. You're a little bit muffled.
All right, can you hear me now?
That's much better. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So, Sean,
right.
Go ahead and talk for a while, because you requested we do this show, and then we're going to go back and forth, okay? And we're going to go for about 2 hours here, and then we're going to be booted off, because that's all we get in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
anyway,
hopefully
Sean,
we don't get booted off with the, information that we speak upon, because obviously we have trolls and we have deep state, operations going on, to where there are ex-military men that are in their basements, and they have a tendency of being able to disconnect radio shows and think it's funny and send threatening messages. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm brave. I'm going to put it out there. You know, it's as easy now as your kid's school principal taking them in the office and bringing them in another room and raping your children. Okay? It goes down to the police force, even also involved with sex trafficking. Where I currently stay, they are under full investigation right now for being involved in sex trafficking. However, I am from New York. You know, I've had experiences myself with certain things. I've seen certain things. I have friends that personally have seen Epstein come on to women in the Central Park area of Manhattan and say, hey, you know, why don't you come home, you know, come hang out with me, you know, I got beer, I got this, I got that. So basically what's going on is there's a lot of grooming going on. Like, you sit back and you watch these reality TV shows today and nothing but it's like you got these little girls dressed like they're supposed to be, you know, older women, makeup. You know, they're sexualizing this stuff so much. And, you know, so many kids go missing, so many women go missing. My goal in all of this is to help women that are going through basic, what I call, you know, the rape part of the monarch programming, you know, system, through Hollywood, through the media, to even being a girl that's walking home from school with her backpack on and her little pigtails in her hair and, you know, here comes this fat officer that just got done eating Dunkin' Donuts, and he says, oh, hey, you're a cute little girl. Let me, you know, can you get in the car with me? I need to talk to you about something. But meanwhile, they take him somewhere, they rape him, and then they wake up years later, or they're traumatized for the rest of their lives because some of the people that they surround themselves with don't want to believe what they're talking about. And it's become mass. It's become, I mean, it's to the point where you can go on a dating site and the first thing that pops up is some pornography type of stuff. You know, I believe that we are dealing with, you know, not only, you know, talking about, you know, being hypnotized into a television. I mean, I've noticed it myself. I've been hypnotized by the television, by electronics.
Let's unpack this a little bit. Yeah, let's unpack this a little bit because you just said a lot there. I mean, that was 20 different subjects right there that you just said. So, backing it up, like our listening audience might not know what Monarch is, and Milabs and MkUltra. Can you explain that to our? Let's start with Monarch. What do you mean by Monarch?
Okay, to me, women that I have spoken to in the past have had, like, you know, the monarch butterfly, the symbol. It's like I have been shown to others that is a trigger for them, like something with rape. You know, they would play different songs during these, you know, sex rituals, like, for instance, I'm in the mood for love. You know, what they want to do is they want to break you down in these programs altogether. You know, it's all tied. Me, personally, I feel that the word paranormal is tied into all of this because there is, you know, no ending. It seems like there's no ending to this. It just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. and more people are coming out. With talking about my lab abductions, military abductions, where the military, I always say, has an actual key to everybody's home on this planet and can come in while you're asleep, inject you with something, and, implants, whatever it is. Now, these implants can also cause, what I've learned with myself is, like my one implant, it moves from the left side of my body to the middle of my body and then to the right side of my body. So it like vibrates itself around.
Where is your implant? Where is it in your body?
It moves on a continuous basis.
I mean, is it in your head or in your leg? Is it what part of your body?
I believe there's something going on with my head. I definitely believe there's something there. I like to call it like I get these downloads where like I'll go and I'll be talking to an individual, because for the audience, I'm all open ears. My Facebook is Sean Fowler. You can look me up, contact me. I don't care what time of night it is, where you are. If you're dealing with something painful, contact me and we can talk about it. Because what I've learned is, like, just by sitting here and helping co-host and being able to put a message out to the world that some people are going to believe, some people might not, but that's not the whole idea behind it. The idea behind it is it's your choice to figure out, or whatever your belief is your belief. And nobody can take that away from you. We all have those opinions. Epstein, people are talking about, Epstein dying or getting put on suicide watch, and then they talk about him being murdered, and then they talk about him this and that. See, there's so much stuff coming out at one time that it's almost like they're trying to play Scrabble with our brains. Okay, that's basically what I look at.
Well, you don't know what to
like
believe.
A puzzle.
We are Scrabble.
Exactly. So there is a truth behind this somewhere with something, and I do know that man was very, very hypersexual. I do know they found in his mansion, they found a dentist chair in his bathroom. You go back and you look at that as a normal person, right? In society, they'd be like, but now you realize, what the hell does this man need a dentist chair in his bathroom?
Well, what does that mean to you, a dentist chair in the bathroom?
Strapping women down, drugging women, drugging them and strapping them down and raping them.
Right.
But don't you find it kind of funny?
Yeah, he's a sex addict, and he did all this on Sex Island and in his mansion, but he wasn't alone. This seems to be what's coming out. What's
Trump
emerging,
was there.
That this has been going on all along.
For everybody that's being Trump supportive, take a step back for a minute and realize what's going on here. Like, some people are sitting there and saying, Trump's doing everything right. Well, why is he in pictures with Epstein? Why are they finding files of, certain things that are going on, or went on, like the Clintons, Hillary, all of them are involved. I believe even Bill Gates has some involvement in this. We got the gentleman, I can't remember his name off the top of my head to save my life, but he's from Disney, and he just got federal charges. I mean, look at the media in itself. Look at what,
it
in
seems like
Hollywood.
Let me run past something, It seems that they get everybody involved in some way, and so
yes.
Then they have something on them, and that might make them go into it even more. So then they have more and more on them. Now they enjoy it, I guess. I don't know what's going on their own heart and mind level, but once you're in there and you participated in your rituals, or you participated in these tapings, because these children are not consenting. They're not old enough to
No, absolutely not.
And
I
children
got into an
their
argument.
minds are split. Yeah, go ahead. Your turn.
Well, it's consensual. That's what I got into an argument with somebody about. They're sitting there, they're telling me, oh, this is all, a lot of these girls are coming out and talking about sex trafficking and stuff. It's found to be consensual. No, it's not found to be consensual. Not when you're taken to a facility and you're made to do things and you're stripped butt naked and you're involved in rituals and you have no clue because you're you're hypnotized because they have the ability to do so and they're using it in a negative way.
Well, they get programmed
at
such a young age. We have stories that we've been tracking down. They start when they're children, very young children. And they don't have any other basis for life. They get indoctrinated into this. This is their life. And they're not giving it skills of, they're taught prostitution. They're taught that the only way they're going to even eat or survive is by... Yes,
exactly. Because I was speaking with another, somebody that was involved in, sex trafficking, and she was telling me how, it's like we don't get a break, and we need like years of rest. And I mean, if I had the amount of money where I could open up a home for women that go through this, young women, older women, some men, but, I really believe that these women, like some of us, quote unquote, they call the super soldier, are programmed to go in, because I'm not going to sit here and lie. When I first woke up, they did that to me. They had me go and, message women and ask questions and, but now that I'm more awake and I'm more grounded and I realize that's not going to cover it, you know what I mean, that's not going to help, that's just going to make the problem worse. But I would love to open a home for women that go through this, because just a home where they can go and they can heal and they can speak to people who have been through kind of like AA and NA, but sex trafficking anonymous. Like, right. I mean, what a creation, because imagine how many more would actually come out and come to the light. Because now it's like, okay, we have these organizations, you know what I mean, like, that help. And that's my goal in this whole, fight, because it's a fight to be in this game. It's a fight, because there's always somebody that's going to say that I'm wrong or say that you're wrong, but you live by your own truth. And when you, like Preston Nichols would always say, you question your own sanity, you're sane. So there's parts there that might not be correct, you know what I mean, because of the decompartmentalized state of mind. When they decompartmentalize the mind during the fracturing and the reprogramming, this stuff comes into play. And, especially with relationships, because a lot of us cannot seem to hold a relationship for a long period of time. It's scary. It really is. It's I sit here live on air and I say that I still question my own sexuality because of events that took place with me with other male figures that had raped me when I was a child. So, yeah. Go ahead.
They use rape and drugs and all kinds of things to fracture your mind so you create alters or subpersonalities, and these alters can be programmed. And also the fracturing often creates higher intelligence and the ability to remember long things. So with Cathy O'Brien and the other one, they were able to program into messages to them, and so they would be couriers between presidents. And so there was Cathy O'Brien said she went to Mexico and then she had to do fellatio. It was all mind controlled. She had to do fellatio, and then when she did the fellatio on the president, this whole thing opened up the message, and then, she didn't remember what had happened. It was all part of this fracturing and
right. Right. It's a part of the programming. Sometimes, like, for instance, I'll remember, like, I'll be one place, but then if I meditate on it long enough, or I, like Penny said, always question your memory behind it. And, honestly, that's a good way of doing it, because it's like, okay, I'm not seeing it, right? But now I'm questioning it, and I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? I'm identifying and seeing what might be the problem, what might be wrong in what I'm saying, what might be, but because the truth can be written in so many different ways in somebody's experience. You understand? Like, one thing might be true, but then the next is false.
Right. So then you get boggled.
We sit there and we say to ourselves,
you don't know what's real and
what's
real.
Right.
So you
got a really good point there.
And how did you realize that there was something going on? I became obsessed with researching and interviewing people.
Right. Well, that's how it happened with me.
I did hypnosis regression. I did therapy. I did 20 years of talk therapy. I came from the point of dysfunctional relationships, and I think you mentioned that. It's hard for people that are in these programs to have healthy relationships.
This would go on. This would literally go on for, like, the relationship issue. Okay, mine was sort of like yours. I started researching, and then when I researched, after I had that first awakening, I kind of went a little deep, and that was their goal. They're always trying to, especially if somebody is involved, they want to isolate you from others that are involved. So I believe that there's a huge mind manipulation pattern that's going on. I feel that there's a lot of fighting going on, amongst one another. I feel that there's a lot of backbiting. I feel that, some people's stories, they try to, I've learned, like, you got to be careful where you put your content, because wherever you put your content, there's a chance that somebody could take that content, use that content in their story, and next thing you know, you hear your story down the line.
Right. It's really hard to own a story because you have to be protected.
It is.
And it gets copied all the time.
So many people deal with it. Complicated, exactly, because then when you're hearing it come out of someone else's mouth, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you do have a part in this, but this sounds totally like what I went through. Yeah,
and I don't have your story. We're going to be doing Sean's story next week. with Dr. Lessin. So right now I'm kind of like, I don't really know Sean's story. I get bits and pieces of Sean's story. And I don't want to tell you I want you to tell it on this show. We're going to wait for next week. So do tune back and next week as we go over Sean's story. But we're going to focus on this subject. So let me back up a little bit. You said that you grew up in New York, and that's where Epstein
I was born in Clearwater, Florida.
Florida.
But I moved to the New York when I was 1 year old, and I was placed on an air base through kindergarten, preschool and kindergarten, and I remember being tortured. I remember being taken to underground bases. I remember this, like, and it's kind of like what Stewart spoke about, how they could just open a portal in your room, grab you in, and just, like, you know, like that was like what it really, was. I mean, I was afraid to sleep on my own. I was afraid of the dark. I always thought that negative things about myself for some reason, I thought I'd never amount to be anything. And it's like now it's like, whoa, it's like all this new stuff is coming into play that had to do with my past trauma, that now what I'm doing is I'm sitting there and I'm going through it like a filing cabinet. And I'm meditating, I'm speaking, with another individual that helps me see sometimes some of the things that I don't see myself. And, he's bold with me. He's very bold with me, which I like, because I figured in this, sometimes, people will go on, like I did myself. Like I'm working with a lady right now, and she messaged me, and this is exactly what she said. This is beautiful. I couldn't believe it when she told me this. Like, I didn't want to. At first I was like, wow. It was very interesting. But she said, Sean, I needed you to be firm with me to keep my mind focused. Just know you reminded me of Jesus as a radical preacher who boldly told truth. He hated what was bad so much, rebuked demons to save people. Always speak truth, firmness, and boldness. No one ever helped me like you. We all need to have the no rent sign, LOL. I have been practicing in taking all my thoughts captive. They will no longer rule over me. God bless you, Sean. You have a gift. Wow. Now, what I do with people that I work with is I say, when they go on and on and on and on and on, and I do it with myself, I say, is there a for rent sign in your head?
Oh, okay.
Take that for rent sign down and say not for rent. Don't allow others to rent space in your head. And I learned that. Somebody taught me that, and I was like, you know what, but at times it's still, hard to deal with, because one thing I could say is I don't care anymore what anybody thinks, about me. I'm going to tell my truth. I'm going to tell it how it is, my way, of my own experience. If you can identify, that's good. But if you can't, there's several others that you might connect with. You understand? So it's kind of like a hit or miss situation with me that I've been dealing with for a long time.
Yeah.
But that just amazed me how, she came out like that and spoke about that. I was like, whoa. It just blew my mind, because I didn't think that I could do that at one point, And somebody told me that. It was actually a shaman who told me. He said, you're more powerful than you put yourself to be. And information and you need to, harness it. It's kind of like harnessing that energy. Like what I do is I harness that energy, that negative energy, and I remove it, and I send it to a pit where it will never return. And as I do that, I'm learning and I'm seeing that more and more better is coming, in my own life. Not to say that.
Well, what we need to back up and unpack and deconstruct is how you got to this point. Because one of the things in psychotherapy, the part of one's own personal healing is taking it the next step and, working with the healing with individuals. Because every time you work with another person and helping them heal, you heal another aspect of yourself. It's like a continuous circle.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
So
what happened with me, I broke down. I completely broke down. I started having serious suicidal thoughts. I just broke down in tears one night. I just sat there and broke down in tears and literally put a gun in my mouth and said, "This is it. This is the end." And I pulled the trigger, and when I pulled the trigger, nothing happened.
Oh my God!
Something had, intervened. I don't, because I knew that gun was loaded. I knew it was beforehand, and I didn't check. And somebody must have, something must have happened where it jammed, or I don't know, but it was really to the point where I thought I was at a point of literal, I was ready to just say goodbye, and that's it.
Right.
And that's scary. And for listeners that are listening that know about that, are going through that, yeah, it is a scary process. Because if you don't have anybody to talk to about it that understands what this type of trauma is, they're going to look at you and they're going to say, okay, you need to go to the psych ward. No, that's not always the answer. That's not always the answer. Now, there's people. I tried slicing my wrist. I tried overdosing. I tried all different kinds of things because when I first woke up to this, and having memories of being in underground areas and things being not normal to what I thought normal was. It wasn't normal at all. And I started questioning myself, and I also started denying myself, going against my own, saying, this isn't true, I got to stop thinking this isn't true. But it just kept coming back. And when I broke down, like I said, and I put that gun in my mouth, there was one person I contacted, and that person spoke to me for about an hour. And after that person spoke to me, she said to me, listen, he says, before you do something, think about it. Think about it.
Right.
And I sat back and I said, you know what? I'm a lot smarter than this. And I, don't need to fall prey. And that's when I started looking into the, where they set you into these suicidal altars. And I looked into it and I said, clearly this is what I'm going through right here. Clearly.
Right.
It was like my story written in a paragraph, you know what I mean? But having to break it down, kind of, and realizing that suicide is not the answer. It's not the answer.
Well, you're lucky that it wasn't loaded. Now,
there's too many that are. Yeah,
that I've known that have gone to the psych ward, and it wasn't a bad thing. They did keep them from, killing themselves. So if you don't know,
right.
There are places you can go. We have a very good place in Maui
I just feel that the psychotropic medications, I just feel like these psychotropic medications, okay, it was like this. It's like, for me, why I have a problem with the hospital is seems they always want to put me on a new medication that was never used. It's a new one. Oh, we want to try this with you. Oh, no, thank you. I'm not your lab rat. You know,
and I agree
but
with that.
some
just
people
saying,
are just so like, okay, I'll take it. You know what I mean? But that's where we're dealing with also is not only is the sex trafficking coming through government ties, but it's coming through the Chinese, Chinatown in Manhattan. It's also coming through the drug cartels as well. And, you know, I personally have a few individuals that I met that were getting paid by the feds to do things. Drug dealers. And, you know, the one kid who I know, he stopped, thank God. But, I mean, the manipulation, you know, they have ways of manipulating and finding their way in. And a lot of this, truthfully, Epstein, yeah, it's going to last for a while. Everybody's going to talk about it. It's another conspiracy. But we live in a world of nothing but MkUltra. I don't care if it was done in the 70s, 80s. It's still going on to this day with a different name.
Right. And what's it being called today?
The whole world is dealing with it. It's called the Mockingbird program, which is mass media.
Mm-hmm.
Let's distract everybody with all these shootings. Let's distract everybody with all these shootings and all this stuff so we can go do well with our cover-ups. Why
what
are
they
there
covering
so many
up?
shootings? Who knows?
What are they covering up?
That's something that I would love to. I'm actually in the process of investigating Manhattan myself because there's a couple of spots where some things are going on that me and a buddy of mine who investigate, we're actually going to go and investigate. And, you know, I'm going to look into it. And, you know, young women that look like they're prostituting themselves, I'm going to pull them aside and I'm going to speak to them and see where their minds are at. Because it's crazy. Like, I live in, you know, South Carolina, and I thought, oh, you know, go to South Carolina. Everything will be all right. But even here, like I said, it's the police force here, too, as well.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, they're on a crackdown, big time. I mean, for the littlest thing, plant medicine. They will lock you up and give you years in jail for plant medicine here.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to cover something up, so they're trying to make so much money so they can pay to get it covered up.
And you don't know what it is.
Oh, I know.
So
they're sex trafficking.
Yeah. So let's look at that.
Right here in South Carolina.
Rabbit hole. So do you have any idea how it's organized? I mean, who's
how
at the top?
organized? How organized is what?
How is your? When I was a kid, they had a porn ring, and they were photographing children having sex with each other. There might have been children with having sex with adults, but I never uncovered that piece. We had a man that was taking photos of all the mothers, all the housewives, and their daughters in the nude. So I still don't have all the answers of what was going on, because this was the 50s and the 60s. But this goes back.
The whole thing is
way back.
Right, Janet. The whole thing is there's always going to be a missing piece to this puzzle, no matter what. There's always going to be a missing piece. We might tie down some of the things. Right.
The witnesses are dead. The witnesses are dead, so now we're in another generation, but the next generation is fractured, and it continues through the generations.
Well, that's
so
my
do you
goal
know
for this
about
generation.
The history?
The history as to what?
How far this goes back? Who's at the top of the pyramid? Who's at the tip top of this? If this trail leads back to all the presidents and all the presidents, men and women,
underneath
where does it end?
The Illuminati, the Rothschild, families in these different countries who have so much money. Money is the root of all evil.
They're obviously blocking it. So here we had Epstein, and now he's dead, or is he dead? And
exactly. Who knows?
Trials. And how's this going to come out? And all those people that thought they were going to... And why did they reenact this 10 years later? Like, they gave him that deal 10 years ago where he only had to go to jail in the evening on weekends, right? So we have so many questions and no answers.
Exactly.
What do you think?
It's hard to tie down the actual truth to it, because it's like, I can only tell you from my own experiences what I've seen, and what I've witnessed and what I've been involved in. But, some people are going to sit there and they're going to say, oh, well, he's another Max Spears, he's another this one, he's another that one. No, I'm Sean Fowler. I have no, whatever happened there. And, God bless his soul, R.I.P., rest in peace, Max Spears. He was about to come out with serious names of sex traffickers. And look what happened.
Right. So what? What is
so
it
it's like you got to kind of censor yourself a little bit.
And then you get, what good does it do to out these names and then you just get yourself killed? Right. So we're looking. One of the things
I speak about it on the benefit of humanity, trying to explain to humanity what's really going on. We're not living in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, who was also a pedophile himself. So, Barney, we can go on, there's so much sexualizing in movies, television, music videos, and these young kids are seeing that, and they're gearing towards that. They're going towards that.
Right. So you were saying that Mr. Rogers was a pedophile.
Oh, absolutely.
Was there anybody that's sacred? Was there anybody good in all these years of...
I honestly, with the media, I'm afraid to say yes or no. Because it's like, I feel like once you're in Hollywood, it's kind of like once you're the president, you're shown the JFK assassination and told, shut your mouth, welcome to becoming a president. Unless you want that to happen to you.
Well, that's what it seems like. Everybody's compromised. They somehow sucked into it. And, we're nobody, right? We're just little people. Why were we brought in? We're not people that became presidents or anything of any political power. Yet we get sucked in.
It goes back to genetics. It goes back to the genetic part as well. Now, I'm Fowler is my last name. I'm Irish and German, so I am connections with Welsh genetics. as well as being in a Celtic background with the Irish. And,
right.
you know, that they're targeted big time too. The Celtic part is definitely a targeted, you know, race as well. You know, origin, and genetics, and you are, okay, cool.
Oh yeah, I'm all Celtic.
Irish. Yeah, Irish. It seems that, you know, a lot. You know, people say with the program, blonde hair, blue eyes. You know, I get
right.
it because of, you know, how Hitler was, blonde hair, blue eyes, or I kill you. You know what I mean? Like, but it was like, okay, it kind of, to me, I feel like, you know, this is just a reverse in time, and everything is happening that happened before happening again.
Right. Nothing's
I feel
changed.
like we're
Same old.
trapped. I feel like it's a repeat in history about a lot of things. I mean, if you listen to a Biggie Smalls song, he talks about the World Trade Center blowing up in one of his songs. Okay? What possessed him to say that?
That the World Trade Center
blew up.
I don't know. What's the answer?
Right. We don't know. But all of a sudden, him and Tupac got into a huge argument, and they ended up, you know, it was all a setup. It was all set up. And I believe that Puffy Combs has a lot to do with this as well, because I have friends that have tried to get into the rap industry, music industry as well, and have met with Puffy and did not want to sign the contract because what he would do is he's just trying to make money off of everybody, and large amounts. And I know he's involved in stuff too. I truthfully believe that he had something to do with Biggie's death. I truthfully do. Because it's like, okay, you look at two sides of it, right? It's okay, West Coast versus East Coast, right? What made all that happen? What made all that happen? Well, you had Suge Knight, you had all these other people, you know, that obviously did not like the East Coast. Relationship issues, all kinds of stuff, you know. But Biggie told the story, and the story he told was about a young kid that grew up in the streets. He didn't have a father. His father left. But he always tells stories in his music. He's a very good poet and, you know, musician. But the thing about it is it seems like this is happening more and more and more with musicians as well. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's going on that, you know, it would take us to go in with binoculars just to see the reality.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's deep. It's very, very deep. It can go deep to a point where it can send somebody into an anxiety attack, questioning themselves, suicidal thoughts. That's why, like, when some of these people contact me and we talk, I don't get too deep with them at first, because I let them talk about what they got to talk about, and then I try to, like, summarize it, and then I try to, like, look at it. Maybe I might, you know, have had something similar. So then when you have had something similar, you can relate. But when you talk to somebody who can't really relate to this stuff, or it's either they're just mind controlled by the world, and what's put in the world, and materialistic objects. Oh, what nice coat am I going to buy tomorrow? I need the nicest shoes on the market. I need this. I need that. Let's go to McDonald's and fill our stomachs with a bunch of GMOs. Let's go here and do that. So it's like, I feel like there's a population control going on as well.
What's your thoughts on the population control?
Well, first of all,
I did the last interview with George Green.
I know Montauk. A lot of people have had cancer and died, and they claim it's because of the water. Now, I do believe because of the water, because I know the Brookhaven Laboratory. I've seen them with my own eyes actually drop chemicals into our water, like Stewart talks about the fluoride in our water. I did a test one time to see that in New York, and I saw how dirty the water was, and I was like, wow, this is what I'm putting into my body? Like, I think I feel that that's a part of the population control too. Contaminate the water. So when we contaminate the water, we're dealing with, okay, now people are going to drink this water, they're going to get cancer, and they're going to end up dying. So we're going to get more, room on this planet. I feel we're overpopulated. I feel that, there's just, and the other thing is I'm not a racist person by any means, but I feel that United States, when these foreigners started coming in, a lot of us who have already been here have lost. I mean, I have a friend, he had a business, construction business, making excellent money. The man can't even get one estimate now. He had a company for 27 years.
Come over here.
He can't even get one estimate. And he's like, he's like, wow, bro. He's like, it's like, it's
well, people aren't building right now, dear. People aren't building. Nobody can afford it. We all just lost our houses. And that was the thing that was revealed by Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. And he laid it out in the 70s and 80s and 90s how they were going to crash the market. So they were going to flood the market and then crash it and take back all these houses. So, that was just in 2008, 2009, the dazzle market. So people they're not buying, they're not recovering, they don't have the income. There might be more people working, but they're not making much. They're working 2 or 3 jobs in order to pay. I don't know how you pay the rent. Thank God I'm retired, but, it's really hard to keep the lights on and pay the rent.
My father was murdered in front of me when I was 14 years old.
Oh, my God.
And he had left his pension behind because he worked for Local 1298, the union. And I ended up getting called by a lawyer and saying, you're going to have this, It's not much. I mean, what I do is I do side work or, I try to keep my mind focused on a regular basis. I try not to veer off into the trauma as much anymore, but I know I'm going to deal with the trauma. There are nights I wake up crying my eyes out because I can't go back to sleep because I don't want to go back to sleep because I don't want to see what I just woke up from seeing. And, it tortures you. It's a form of torture.
Right.
And I feel bad. I feel bad for people that can't get past that part of it. I do. It's sad because a lot of people, they'll go to the drugs and they'll go to alcohol and they'll go to, but see, that's not going to take the trauma away forever. That's just going to cover it for a little while.
Right, and it's like festering a wound, and it's still infected underneath. So the most effective way that I had found is doing intensive therapy, but some people do not have access to such things. So what do we do to help people?
Intensive therapy can be very, yeah.
Well, it means
some
you have
people
to
don't have access
to your
to
therapy.
phone.
If you keep just pushing aside, then it ends up getting demonic. What if your press becomes demonic? So at some point you have to stop and address it. And if you don't address it, it takes over your life. And
absolutely.
Anyway, that's
I
what
sold my soul.
It just consumes you.
I sold my soul at one point. Absolutely.
What do you mean you sold your soul?
Okay, I was with a guy. He was a satanic super soldier. Now, looking back, my mother warned me. She said he's in occultic type stuff. He worships, Satan. And, at the time, I was like, yeah, I don't believe you. You know what I mean? Like, I was still caught in the mix of everything because I could not find my truth. So his grandfather was weird. I mean, he ended up being a security guard at the Brookhaven Laboratory. He'd watch my house. This guy threatened to kill me and my whole family at one point. And brought me, when he was living in the basement, he had these, I want to say they were like spell casting books. And he cast some spells upon me that made me ask the devil to come into my heart. And when that happened, I became possessed, and I started doing evil things, evil acts, like fighting all the time, blacking out, not remembering what happened the next day, the cops banging on the door, you're under arrest, not knowing why, though. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to the police officers, why are you arresting me? What did I do? You don't remember? No, honestly, I don't remember. What did I do? Oh, you assaulted such and such. Oh, really? How's this? I only remember waking up on my couch and you knocking on my door. Well, were you at this club last night? No, I don't remember being at that club last night.
Wow.
So, like I disassociated for a long
really bad
time.
Now, how did the cops treat you? See, we had a
very, very rudely.
Client's son
I
had a
black
psychotic
eyes.
episode. Oh, they beat you.
Very rude. Yeah, beat me up.
See, now
they threw me down
I guess
a
we're
flight
very
of
blessed
stairs.
here. Let me tell you about something. Here, we had a client who had a psychotic episode. And,
in Hawaii?
Yeah, and so the police arrested him. He was acting out, and they put him in the back of the police car, and he kicked out the window. But they drove him down to the psych ward, and then the psych ward put him in therapy. He was in there for about 2 weeks, and then he was released again. But he had gotten hold of something that was making him a psychotic episode. He had a friend that kept slipping him these drugs that were things that weren't good. They didn't go well with his whatever he was on, it's like meds or something. So he would have a big stab, And then the police knew about him, so they didn't beat him up. They didn't, it was very nice. They didn't taser him. They helped him get better. And now he's not better. He's kind of going to always be a little bit crazy because he just got a hold of some really bad drugs in his day or something, or it could be chemical. I don't know his diagnosis. But anyway, I was shocked, because I'm expecting this police brutality, and they weren't mean to him. I guess they were well trained and educated on how this could happen.
Yeah.
But you're saying they beat you up and hurt you.
They threw me down a flight of stairs. They made me confess to a crime I didn't do. And at the time, I was under shock. So, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, if I tell on this person, then this person is going to kill me. And so, what? Screw it. I did it. So now I got nailed with a charge that I never even committed.
Right.
Now, one of those people that I took back for, right, and took that beating for and got thrown down a flight of stairs, as soon as they got me to the police station, they threw me down the flight of stairs and told me, you're going to tell me the effing truth now. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, I don't know anything you're talking about. They manipulated me. You know what the one officer said? The detective came down and he said, I knew you were telling the truth in the beginning, but thanks for the case to be closed. You'll be seeing the judge in the morning. Now, when I got picked up from the judge, I got released on an ROR. My eyes were black and blue. Released on your own recognizance.
Oh, an RO, okay.
Yeah, released on your own recognizance. So now I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. I got to get a lawyer, the normal. And I got heavily into drinking at that point. That point I got into bad. Vodka was my taste of alcohol. And I became very nasty. I remembered throwing TVs through, the window of the home I lived in. I picked up a TV and just literally threw it through the window onto a main. I could have hit somebody and killed them. Onto a main sidewalk in West Hampton Beach above the town itself. We were in an upstairs apartment. And I remember picking the TV up and throwing it through the window. And I just became very angry, bitter. I reverted to, went to people who I thought were going to help me, but it ended up getting involved in gangs, so on and so forth, because I was looking for validation. I don't know, at that point, the validation, you know what I mean? I was like, I knew something was up here because they coerced me to come down to that police station, and I, at first, was like, no, I'm not coming down there, no. And then the guy said, well, then we'll come arrest you. So I freak out. I'm like, screw it. He comes, the detective, and he starts taking, at the time, I had IO cable, and he said, oh, you stole these cable boxes, you stole this TV, you stole this, you stole that. And I'm like, I just bought that stuff. That stuff was given to me. What are you talking about? So I get down to the police station, and there's 3 detectives in the police station. We know you burglarized all these homes. Well, now, they got in my face. They cursed at me. They called me a scumbag. I'm never going to make it in life. I'm always going to be, dumb. choose the right company to hang out with. Meanwhile, I had no idea that these houses were even burglarized. Come to find out, it was one of my
So they're trying to nail it
friends.
on you.
Right.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Unfortunate, but you know what? That's a part of the path. And, you know, I still get messed with cops. I sent you the pictures. That picture was that guy's an undercover narc. He follows me everywhere I go, every which way. That's my morning coffee. Thank you. Hi.
Wow.
You know, it's just it you know, and they know what I'm talking about, obviously, because I'm on radio. I'm talking about it, and I don't care what they think anymore. I really don't, because it's got to be put out there, and you know, people got to start waking up and realizing that not every police officer you come in contact with is your friend.
So what can
you could be the victim.
What are some concrete
you could be the victim.
steps we can spend 10 years identifying the problem, and we will do the different aspects about it, you know, over the course of these shows. But, you know, we're like an hour into the show, at least now. So maybe what we need to do is, what can be done about all this? This is a huge problem. It goes back many, many generations. I was looking over, I put in Project Monarch, and I'm uploading the pictures. It'll take a few minutes, and I'm going to publish them. But it goes back to, remember Stanley Kubrick's The Clockwork Orange? That was a show about
I just got done watching that. Yes. Behavioral modification. Behavioral modification. Right. And what I liked about The Clockwork Orange was it was like a reality, a different reality, and the way it was based, and how they would sit there and drink mugs of milk, like, you know, like it's kind of like one of those movies that puts you on the edge. It's like, when I watched it, I said, wow. I said, this is totally what I've been through. It's almost like, in a different way, though. They would shove meds down my throat. Ritalin, Zyprexa, all these psychotic medications at a young age being shoved. But then, you know, that pain that kid felt in that movie, that's what sickened me.
Yeah.
So he went through all of that to get that.
Right.
So what we're basically is like, we need concrete, like, solutions to this. Is people need to start coming out and finding others, and not being afraid. And whoever hears this that's afraid to come out and speak about it, like I said before, you don't have to be. There's people that have been through the same exact thing or similar things to what we've been through. And there's so many solutions. It's crazy.
One of the things my friend Miesha Johnston did was she created support groups online, and she's out there.
Okay.
So you can, if you hear about this, just write to me at Aquarian Radio. But Miesha Johnston has a support. It's Miesha Johnston with a T, has a support group on Facebook, and she meets like 3 times a week, and all these mind controlled MkUltra people come out on her show, and it's private. It doesn't get shared anywhere. So that's level 1. You can find these support groups, and I know these support groups are, being created in all these towns, because it started with the experiencers, people that had alien abductions. But this is like an offshoot, or the MkUltra mind control kind of goes in like what's going on. Because a lot of times people will have alien abductions and then they'll be taken by the government. The government will take them the next night to find out what the aliens did with them. So we're dealing with this phenomenon, and it's getting bigger. But if you look at the pictures, this mind-controlled MkUltra goes back to at least the 60s, and probably before. Well, Wizard of Oz programming, that definitely was programming in Disney. So we're talking about the beginning of the 20th century, you know, the 1920s and 30s. They started, Disney started, I don't know what year Disney started, but he started. That's why I call it Mickey Mouse. It's so Mickey Mouse because Disney was somehow putting programming, you know, for children out there. So it's so Mickey Mouse. And so anyway, this goes back. So level 2, so we have level 1, which is the support group. And then level 2, you know, you might want to come out on a show, or you might want to do private therapy or hypnosis or something. But I highly recommend, if you're going to do that you do it like when you have some time to be destabilized. But just realize it's a process. It's not going to be overnight. And but if you don't do anything, it affects you. This is the underlying cause of diseases, because you're ill at ease. You haven't reconciled these issues. These were done intentionally, everybody. There's a part of our population that's, you know, trying to fracture us into our fractals, into our subpersonalities, so we can be controlled and manipulated. And I'm not sure how to get to the base of that. Because it went on in my neighborhood in the 50s, and we thought everything was all Christian and handy-dandy and healthy, right? But it wasn't. It was perverse.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. Yep. But you can have it happen and go on and have a quote-unquote normal life, but if you find yourself acting out, like you said, you start doing things that weren't kind. Well, if you find yourself doing things that aren't kind, and that's not what you identify as your true nature, you might be acting out something resulting from repressed programming and trauma. So that's like a litmus, it's like an indicator. I need to go look at this, because I'm not centered, I'm not healthy, I'm not emotionally and psychologically healthy. I'm acting out, I'm not being as good as I want to be, the kind, loving person I intend to be. And especially if you find yourself being impatient with like a life partner or children, you know, it's worse than anything on children. So I recommend you seek help. There's no shame in seeking help for your childhood religious and cultural conditioning and programming. No shame. Those are just normal things. On top of it, we got people that have been, you know, fractured and MkUltra and Monarch and mind controlled and Disney and everything else. So that's where I'm going. What do you think, Sean? What are some of your ideas for how we can recover?
I totally agree. Like, if you have somebody close enough that you can talk to at any given moment, like I said myself, you know, you message me, I get the message, I get right back as soon as possible. Because, you know, we're dealing with life or death here with certain individuals. Because I mean, I work with another individual that actually has the suicide problem, and you know, it's like, you know, I keep trying to tell her, you know, you don't need to, you know, you don't need to do that. That there's better options. She's like, no better option. So I try, you know, to say, okay, well, then you need to try to find somebody that can relate to you. You know, if you can't relate to me or you even, or whoever, you know, you never know. It's weird when you wake up to this. The most nicest people will come to you, and then you'll get the most meanest people that will come to you.
Mhm.
So you got to learn how to, you know, certain people, you got to just be
you have to be discerning.
You got to be careful and discern. Discernment is huge. Discernment.
Yeah.
Which I had a very hard time.
If the first therapist or hypnotherapist or counselor or friend you talk to isn't working for you, don't give up. It took me a long time to find the right counselor. First, I went through counseling, and I would come out of some of these counseling sessions and go, they don't know what they're talking about, right? But then I had insurance one time, and I hadn't used it, and I found that I had enough sessions saved up that I could go every day for 2 weeks. So I decided to go counselor shopping. So I booked it up and I tried him out. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, I said, that's the one I want to go with. And that was the right choice. But even that, you might try somebody else and they go, But I don't go to people that want to drug me up with pharmaceuticals.
No.
I'm not into that.
No. I mean, there's other ways. They say that this plant medicine is deprogramming, helps deprogram the mind. And you don't necessarily have to smoke it. It can come in several different ways. You can eat it.
Yeah.
It's liquid. There's several different manners of doing it. I mean, but if you have really, really bad anxiety, I don't, suggest going and smoking a bunch and sending yourself off the cliff. Because a lot of times when you do, I've noticed myself, that creative side, which is the right side of that body, the mind starts to open more than the left side. So you're leaving that left side out, which is that powerful side, without the powerful side, and you only have the right side open, you have nothing. It's just creativeness. You don't have, you go into delusional patterns, some people, I've noticed. A lot of us victims, like myself, we always feel like we're being watched or, we're monitored. Yeah, I'm monitored all the time. I mean, I had to, get a new phone because of things that took place that I'm not going to speak about here on the, live on air because there's no need for it. But it goes back to discernment. You gotta see who's what their ulterior motives are behind what they do. Because not everybody is friendly, or they will be friendly and then they'll turn around and cut your throat. So you gotta be careful on who you trust.
Right. So what are
and trust takes a long time.
Trust needs to be earned. It's not a given. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a long time. It took me since 2014 to trust anyone really up until about 4 or 5 months ago. And that's when I started getting seriously hit with downloads. The L. Frank Baum story started coming out with The Wizard of Oz. I started getting visions of that.
Tell me a little bit about the Wizard of Oz thing. What do you mean by Wizard of Oz? You said you watched the show.
Okay, my theory, my thing behind the Wizard of Oz is who's the only good character in the whole movie, and that's Toto because he found the man behind the cloth.
That's kind of funny. The dog was the only. Wasn't Dorothy?
It is kind of funny, but that's the realization. But that's Dorothy. You look at it. Well, Dorothy was off in whatever, but the whole thing is because you see how she went and she overdosed on drugs. The real one, the lady who played her. You know, so
well, that must have been
there's
hard.
a lot of stuff going on, you know, that, I mean, it's basically like I always say, you know, I've been up the Yellow Brick Road and, you know, through and into the Emerald City and into Alice in Wonderland and down the rabbit hole, and there's nothing but evilness at the end of that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That's if that rabbit hole ever ends.
So it just makes you wonder, what's this all about? Is this something that we as a species have set up to grow, or, you know, is there? We always have the monster, the evil Illuminati, but who is the Illuminati? Some people say it's the Anunnaki. Some people say it's the what do you call it? The interdimensionals, you know, and some people just say it's the royals. But it's always the outside, and it's the other. But what role does the self have on this whole game? You know, how can we ever gain control if we're always the victim and it's always somebody else and it's their fault and we have no way to do? So we're showing up victim. I realize that when I show up empowered, then I can do something about it. If I'm just victim, well, nothing I can do. I'm just a victim. What about you? So you're showing up empowered. When you say to me, I don't care, I'm going to, you know, come out and speak, and I'm not afraid. So you're showing up empowered. And we're obviously doing this. I don't know what the risk factor is for doing this, if there is any at all. I mean, people might just look at it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What are you talking about?
No,
and I think the risk factor saves it.
It's just what my experience is. You know, I'm bringing my experiences out. I'm a little bit more level now. Well, a whole lot more level now than I was. Because I started, you know, realizing certain things and taking apart certain things and seeing, okay, well, let's try this. Let's see if this works. You know, talk therapy. Let's see if this works. Mm-hmm. And as I learned, as I went on in life, as the last few months have went on, I'm getting a little bit more braver with it, because at first I didn't know what to say, because it was like I was just coming out of a traumatizing event that took place that I had memories of, you know, rape, torture. I want to say, like, it's so weird. We're like on a time travel like thing, you know. It's almost like we're in another timeline. It seems every other day. It's weird. Like, I had a guy come up to me today and say that, and I was like, wow. And this guy, you would never think that he would even talk about something like that. But
and I actually have a client that said that she, as part of her punishment because she did something, which I'm not going into, and I don't know what it is anyway, she got discovered, and they sent her to another timeline. And so she says a lot of the same characters are there, but they don't know. They don't have the same story. They don't have the same history. And they're looking at it like she's crazy. And she says, well, wait, we went to school together. I don't even know you, lady. Who are you, lady? What do you mean? We were married once. What are you, crazy?
Well, see, there's no... See, that's the problem.
Married to you.
Right. Yeah. Some people are just on their high horse. You know what I mean, when it comes to this. I feel that there's a lot of money involvement with this, with conspiracy. I feel, like her situation where nobody, the believing part and everything. Well, I could say, out loud that everybody has a story to tell. Everyone.
Right.
There's something that has happened in your life that's traumatizing. I don't care who you are, and I'm saying this loud on air. Every single person that has come on this planet, has been here, whatever, however long, whenever, has went through something traumatizing. And they can't say that they haven't. They might be in denial about it, or they might be afraid to talk about it, but there's no need in being afraid of talking about it. Because when you talk about it, it's like basically the trash pile is getting lower and lower and lower and lower and lower to a point where your energy, the vibration starts. I like to be on a high vibration. That's my thing. I find that being on a higher vibration, which it's funny, people would say, I always say, that's why I stay stoned, because it keeps me on a higher vibration. It helps me communicate with others on a regular basis. It helps me be able to go to the store and shop and, and do things without having to freak out. Like I remember episodes where I'd go into a Walmart and there'd be many people and I'd have to go outside. I just
Walmart has that effect on me too.
Walmart, it does. It has that effect on a lot of people. But you got to also look at this with the Illuminati as well. Is the reason why I bring up Hollywood. For those who, on here that are listening, there's a young lady by the name of Katie Groves. She talks about Uncle Sam's snuff factory and the sex trafficking that was taking place there. She claimed to this place to be a place where people with money, meaning stars, like the Kardashians.
Oh, you're going to talk about that. Ew, that's gross.
so on and so forth. They're in these places and they're drinking humans' blood and they're doing this and they're doing that.
Oh, you did have to say that. Oh, God.
Yeah. And a lot of the sex trafficking is happening with them, too. Like I said before, R. Kelly's under federal charges behind this. Sex trafficking.
Wow.
Federal
this is
charges.
Definitely a heavy topic. I'm going to have to watch a comedy tonight before I go to bed, so I can sleep.
Oh, so am I.
Yeah,
absolutely. Something funny.
Oh my God.
That's another
Something
thing.
Funny.
Is if you get too deep into it yourself, for the listeners, if you get too deep into it for yourself, like find something funny. Find something. Actually an abductee who works with others, who actually helped me when I first woke up. He taught me some things with music and to take your mind off of things. He said, meditate. He says, put on a song, a beautiful song. He says something with nice words, with lyrics. And he says you follow each and every one of those lyrics. And he says it's like you reverse your mind pattern. It's like your brain turns around, so you distract all of that negativity that's coming through. Not to say that it's not ever going to still come through, because it is. But little by little, it's baby steps. Baby steps when it comes to it. That's it.
Right.
Because if you don't do it, you're going to end up like what I did and some other people, and going into regressions when, you don't even know a person well enough.
Yeah.
It can be very depressing, and you're looking for an answer, and sometimes it's just better to let that answer come to you.
Well,
because eventually
it's
going to see
it can
through.
be depressing and eventually liberating. Because once you come out the other side, it's kind of like, getting a tooth pulled, right? But once you get out the other side, you stop having that pain from that abscess tooth. So that's what I did at a certain point when my life wasn't working. I said, I've got to get to the root of this. It's a lot of it's not conscious. You don't know what's going on. You just know that things aren't going right. And it's like, there's got to be something deeper.
Unconscious. Yeah, right.
So when I went into it, and it was, it took me channeling my inner warrior and just really being strong and commit to it. But I've done my story on stage. I have a PowerPoint, and I've had some highly trained, well-known psychotherapists come to me, and they go, how in the world are you still walking? How is it that you can function at all when you've gone through such a horrendous story? And I said, I just did a lot of, my project was me, and I committed to my healing, and I did a lot of work on myself. Because the only alternative is to die. These type of situations do not equate to longevity, right? If you have this level of trauma, it's an anathema to longevity. It's inevitable. So if you choose, I chose life. I'm choosing life. And so in order to live, I've got to uncover what's keeping me from my bliss, from living my life. So, and Sean and I, we're a testimonial that this can happen. It can happen. Don't give up. But, we're still in it. We still get triggered. I say, oh, my God, we have a support system. So now Sean and I have each other. But there's others. So you develop a support system, and you can say, today was a bad day. Can we talk? Can you help me deconstruct this and work through this? And so that's one thing I think it's really powerful is having
writing,
friends.
Too. Writing.
Oh, yay. You wrote the most incredible thing. I can't wait for Sean's book to come out. And then Sean inspired me to go pick up my book. I got depressed, and I put my book aside. And it's like, now I got to go, Sean, you're an inspiration. I've got to go pick up my book. So I'm working on it. I'm getting there. But doing
like
shows for me are therapeutic, too. Yeah.
That's very therapeutic. It's very therapeutic. And it should be therapeutic for listeners as well, to wanting to do it as well, and actually sitting there. Because, for a long time, I would not pick up a pen, and I would not write anything. So a close friend of mine, and she don't mind me using her name's Tabitha Stark, beautiful, beautiful soul. She said to me, I don't mind if you write on my messenger as much as you want. And I said, really?
That's wonderful.
Because I'd wake up in the morning, and in the morning time, it seems that's when these memories start to overtake my whole mind. And I say, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to write it all out. And then I'm going to, go through it, and I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to figure things out. And it seems like it's going very, very well. And, like I said, even picking up a pen, like if you keep a pad next to your bed, keep a pad next to you at all times, even if it's 2 or 3 sentences, you successfully did something with your life. You helped yourself.
Right.
You're learning to heal. It doesn't have to be 3 or 4 pages the first day you write. It doesn't have to be that at any time. You can write a book. It could take you 2 years to write a book because you got to filter through all of this. We got to filter out through all of this. And then when you write all of that and then you go back and look at it, maybe 2 years from now, those memories might not actually be all the actual memories because, like Janet said about the, hypnotherapy and regression, yeah, I plan on doing a lot of that, with the regression especially because of the ET contacts and remembering them. But it's weird how a lot of people have had such wonderful, contacts with ETs. But for me, unfortunately, they have not been nice. They have not been nice. Very painful.
Now
but then I don't remember the pain.
I had nice contact. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was like I remember the pain from being in the actual, abduction, but I didn't feel it physically when I came back. When I was back, I didn't feel it physically. I mean, I would get nauseous, or I'd feel like, I'd get the taste of it in my throat, and I wouldn't throw up. So it was like, it was a torture on my mind. And then sometimes I'd wake up and I, would have a vision of a gray in front of me, or a reptilian in front of me, or whatever it is, But these are like, we go back to ancient days. These exist.
Right.
These exist. They exist.
They do.
Nothing we can do about it. And they're here, and they've been here.
Okay, so we have 23 minutes left. Do you want to run out the clock, or do you want to call it a day? It's up to you.
Let's call it a day. That was a pretty deep.
All right.
Yeah.
That was.
But I enjoyed it. We got a lot out.
Yes, we did. And, I do encourage you listeners to just take it easy, just a little bit at a time. Because, these, even for the most seasoned of us, these are intensive memories, intensive issues. Even if you're working with somebody that's going through it, we're not an island. We get affected, When the therapist does work with somebody, they often have to have some downtime or rest or, do something else. It's very intense. This is good. We're working and moving this energy and healing the planet. And if we start here now, then the next generation has a better chance. So every bit of work that we do on ourselves individually and collectively affects the morphogenic field, which affects all of creation and all of humanity. So I applaud everybody who's doing their work, who's figuring out who they are in comparison to their programming. And there's programming everywhere. Why do you think they call them television programs? There's programming in there. So I want to end with that. Yeah, I'm going to give you the final word, but let me just finish my final word. So I encourage you to be careful what you're consuming, be it in your body or in your mind. Be careful because you're programming yourself. And if you're listening to music, Sean said it, go see what the lyrics are saying. Because even if you don't recognize the words because maybe they're slurring their speech, you're putting that in. So go put up your favorite song, and then they can, I guess the songs on YouTube can show the lyrics. We'll see what lyrics you're programming yourself with, and then only pick those songs that have the type of lyrics that you want to have as your programming. Because people that are kind and loving have longer lives and healthier and happier lives. So that's my final word. Over to you, Sean. Final word.
I'd say, you know what? No guts is no glory. You got to pick yourself up and keep it moving one day at a time.
One day at a time. Okay. Well, I'm going to just end the show tonight. I don't have any extra songs. I have to go find something that YouTube and stuff. So thank you for joining us. Much love and blessings, and aloha.
You have a good night.